even destination trailers. Over 100 different floor plans in stock, all open for you to check out. Forest River Factory reps on hand to answer your questions. True, honest pricing. No prep fees, no setup fees, no orientation fees. Cheyenne Camping Center RV Show this Thursday through Saturday.
Experts say that half of all women and about 1 in every 4 men over the age of 50 have osteoporosis. That's when the bones show signs of deterioration. Dr. Bill Langley joins us now with what you need to know about the condition and why it's so important. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
Let's start by defining an osteoporosis diagnosis.
It's a mathematical formula that means you're 2 standard deviations away from where the average or the age-appropriate bone density is, which it makes it even more complicated. But it's not just thinning bones, because almost all of us after the age 45 or 50 start to have bones that are not as strong. But when it reaches a certain threshold where the risk of fractures goes up, that's where the definition is drawn.
Mm-hmm. And so how does someone know if they have osteoporosis? There really aren't any symptoms,
They don't,
right?
Until you have the misfortune of having a fracture that seems trivial. Why would my hip break? All I did was get out of a chair, for instance. So that's where the more aggressive screening for the higher risk age groups, women over 65, mostly are advised to get a bone densitometry, as it's called, or DEXA scan, as it's still called.
It's kind of like an X-ray.
It is actually an X-ray,
Yeah.
and because it uses a computer to actually calculate the bone density, it's a good mathematically sound way to do that.
Who else is at high risk, men or women?
Men at age 70 and above, or somebody who's had a fracture from a fall that is just from your own height. So if you fall on your hand and you break your ulna or your radius, that's considered a risk, and then that puts you in a category to get some treatment for it.
Okay. So speaking of treatment, there are a multitude of treatments that are available. Let's talk about the different categories.
Yeah, almost all treatments are put into chemical classes, and doctors and nurse practitioners memorize those and know them. But it's hard for patients. But generally speaking, there are 6 or 8 classes now, some of them quite sophisticated, that use monoclonal antibodies, which go in and turn on a specific cell. Mostly it is to change the balance of the normal process where some of our bone is being reabsorbed every day and some is being laid down again. But when you get to a certain age, the laying down of new bone falls way short of the amount that's being taken out of the bone.
Okay, so then you could be treated for slowing the bone loss or for rebuilding bones?
Precisely. The most commonly used drug is still Fosamax, is the brand name, and that actually inhibits the bone resorption. It does have GI side effects, and in some cases after 5 years or more, there actually can be damage to the mandible, one of the bones in our body. But generally speaking, it's very effective, and all of the other ones are quite miraculous, but they're also still untested in many respects. They get the studies done, but we're not as familiar with them. And some of them are hideously expensive. Even with Medicare, $22,000 a year.
Wow.
Adds up, let's face it.
Yeah. Quickly, if we can't prevent aging, how do we prevent bone loss? Is there anything that we can do?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. Exercise actually helps, and it's called peak bone mass. When you're at 20, that's as much bone as you're going to have, which is sort of a shocking thing. So kids need to get plenty of vitamin D and calcium, especially girls, to build that up. And then throughout her life, being physically active actually puts weight on the bones, which tells the body to keep adding calcium and bone tissue to it. So exercise, don't smoke, and get your calcium and vitamin D.
All right, good advice. Thank you, Dr. Bill Langley.